Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to teach you how to do some DIY Dollar Tree farmhouse pumpkins. And we're going to use this famous pumpkin from the Dollar Tree. It is made out of foam. And we're going to use some of the 97-cent spray paint from Walmart. But we're also going to use some of the homemade chalk paint that we made back in the spring. I'm going to link that tutorial in the description box down below. And then for some accents, we're going to use some jute cord. You could just use scraps. We're not going to use very much of it. And pipe cleaners. And again, that's just another, I'm going to show you a couple of different ways to make pumpkin stems. And we're going to use some floral wire as well, and scraps if you have them. Of course, you're going to need your glue gun with glue sticks as well as a scissor, like the regular kind of crafting stuff that you always need. And then, of course, paintbrushes, which I didn't mention. So the first thing that I'm going to do is we're going to spray paint these pumpkins. Now, if you've been around at my channel for a while, you know that last year I spray painted these pumpkins with a different kind of spray paint. The more expensive spray paints are oil, some are oil based, and some have a really strong propellant that will actually sort of pit the pumpkins. And for the look that I was going last year, where I was just keeping them solid white, I actually liked that look, that texture. But this year, I'm just going to go for the regular white spray paint. This is flat and enamel. I actually have 2 cans, and I'm just going to base them in this. It just makes putting on the chalk paint a lot easier. You don't have to put on quite as much. You still get that chalk finish, and you don't have to use quite as much paint. And this is also just faster. So I just put quick coats on them. I stuck sticks on them after I pulled their stems out. Since we're going to make new stems, I took the stems out. And I stuck them on just twigs in the ground, and then stuck the twigs in the ground so that they can dry. Each one of them has like a hole in the top where the stem was. So that's why I was able to stick my twig. And now I've gone back for a second coating. And this just took 2 coats of spray paint to cover it really well. The first coat was really light. You always want to make the first coat really light. It sort of creates almost like a skin where, you know, like it seals up all its pores almost. And then the second coat is where you can really add the color and not have to worry about it. And like I said, I was out of the flat. I got 2 of them covered in flat and 1 of them covered in gloss. But I only needed 2 for this project. 1 is for something else. So as you can see, they're pretty well covered, but you can see the seam definitely where it joins, and that's why I thought it would be nice to use this homemade chalk paint. We made this in March, and you could add to it or make it more. And like I said, I'll link that video in the description box down below. It is super inexpensive chalk paint you make with baking soda, and it's got really good coverage. And I filled in that seam where the 2 halves of the pumpkin meet. But I didn't want to have to fill it in all the way because I'm actually going to use these pumpkins in a project where we're going to do 2-sided sort of topiary type of thing. So I didn't mind that there was a little bit of a seam, but if you do mind that seam, you can cover it with tissue paper and glue if you want to, or you could just fill it in with a couple of coats of paint. Like I said, this chalk paint is kind of thick, and it does get in the cracks really well. So what I'm doing is I'm covering half of it. I'm doing basically between the seams, and then I'm resting it on an old ribbon spool so that it dries. I'm going to let the first half dry, not completely necessarily, but enough that I can handle it to paint the second half, and then let that dry. Doing this craft is sort of one of these things that are super easy, super inexpensive, but just a little bit of time consuming because you have to wait for paint to dry. And for both of these pumpkins, we're going to antique them with sort of the other chalk paint that we made. We made a white, and we made sort of a tan, sort of burlap sort of color. Not tan necessarily, I'm sorry. Like tan would be right. But we're going to use that to antique these. We're just going to basically paint some tan lines in the seams and to enhance the bumps. And that's very simple. We'll just do that. But what I've done to let them dry is I have one, I took an empty ribbon roll and I ripped the paper off the top, and I used it to balance the pumpkin on, and the other one is just a paper towel holder. It's kind of why it's up in the air so much. And I've just rested it on a paper towel holder. So now while the white paint is still a little wet, I'm going to go in with beige, and I'm painting the beige in the middle, like in the valleys, as we say. And I kind of did this for the topiary, or the, I think I did for the topiary last year, something along the lines. But we're just going to do this as sort of the look everybody's going for this season. So what we're doing is we're going to paint the beige in the seams. And then once we get all of them done, I'm going back with the foam brush and I'm blending it. The foam brush is dry. It only has the paint on it that has come off of this pumpkin by blending it. And I've just taken it and I'm going over basically the hills of the pumpkin bumps. Just using it to blend the white into the beige and backwards and forwards. And then I'm going to repeat this for both pumpkins. And the way that these two pumpkins are going to differentiate are the way I'm going to show you two stems and different leaf techniques. Not techniques, but different leaf looks. So yeah, just going back over the bumps just to show you. You can highlight the tops of the bumps. So we're trying to create a shadow in the creases and a highlight on the bump. So I've just taken a little bit of white paint wherever I've needed it, and I've just gone down the middle of the section. And now we're going to make a stem. So I'm going to make two different stems. Both of them are going to be pipe cleaner based. One of them is going to be with either you could use craft paper, but I actually have napkins from the Dollar Tree that were in the gold section that sort of have a tan feel. It's the napkins that we used to cover the mandrake plant, if you watch that video. And what I'm doing is I'm taking, I think it's 5 pipe cleaners, and I'm cutting them at different lengths. I want 2 really long pieces, and then I've reduced each piece by like an inch or so. And just using the pieces that I cut off to make them even smaller. So the point of this is to basically make it thicker at the base to get narrower at the top. And I've taken all the pipe cleaners and make sure they're all lined up on the bottom. And then I've twisted them all together. And now I'm going to take the tissue. We're going to lay the pipe cleaners as flat as possible. And I'm just going to start gluing the tissue around the pipe cleaners. And I'm going to create sort of a stem, like sort of a swirly little piece of paper. And right now it just looks like I've wrapped tissue around pipe cleaners. It doesn't look like anything, but once we start to twist it, you'll see it'll form up a little bit better. I wanted to try to tear the tissue to get like sort of a smooth raw edge, but that didn't work, so I ended up cutting it. And you see, I'm just twisting, and as I twist, I just put a little glue down just to help it keep that twist. And just twist it in one direction, and then once the glue all sets and you get it where you want, you can cut off the end. And then this way, because it's pipe cleaner, you can bend it and manipulate it into whatever stem you want. I really wanted a long, swirly stem for the top of the one pumpkin, which you'll see tomorrow or the next day, actually, what I ended up doing with the pumpkins. But I wanted it to be a really long, super swirly, sort of raw, looking pumpkin stem. So I've glued this right to the top of one pumpkin, and the other one we're going to do very similar. I took 2 pipe cleaners and I folded them in half or thirds. Actually, I folded it in quarters. I folded it in half and half again. So I ended up with, actually maybe it's in thirds. I don't know. But I ended up with the length that I wanted. And then I just took it and I took some of the brown burlap that came out for autumn and just a small piece I had left over from a project previously, and just glued it around there, again in sort of a spiral feel, just to create a little stubby stem that will bend and hold its shape. All right, and just using hot glue and brown burlap, we created that second stem. So now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take some leaves from the Dollar Tree. These are just, they come out with all different kinds of silk leaves. You can actually take them off a pumpkin tree. You can get them left over from any of the greenery plants. I like the maple leaf because it's the closest looking to a pumpkin leaf. Pumpkin leaf is sort of wide with pointy tops out of all the leaves that I have at my house. And I painted two of them with the beige colored chalk paint, and one with the little white chalk paint. And the reason I did that is because I wanted to add two to one of them and one to the other one, just to add. Like I said, I'm going to use these on a project, and that's what I was going for. So once they set them off to dry, come back hours later in the magic of television. And then I'm going to glue, like I said, I'm going to glue the one beige leaf to the one with the brown stem, the brown burlap stem, and the other one, the other two, I'm going to glue on the one with the tissue paper stem. Okay? And first I put down the beige one, and then I put the little white one on top of it. And the last thing we're going to do for these pumpkins is we're going to create tendrils. Now again, if you've seen videos from last year, you saw how we made tendrils. All we're doing is we're going to take a piece of floral wire, glue it on one end, spin it around a piece of jute, or spin a piece of jute around it. Next, definitely, that's really like the way it goes, until we've created a jute covered piece of wire. And then that's what we're going to use for a tendril. And I just spin it really hard, and I put glue in a couple of spots along the way so it doesn't untwist on me. And I just do this for however long I want the tendril to be. And then I could twist it around my finger, is how you get like the tendril to be fat and come to a skinny point. That's how I like to do it, around my finger. But I'll show you in a minute. You can also do it around a pencil if that need be. Okay? And spin, 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 spin. And I'm going to make two long tendrils for the pumpkin with the tissue stem. And I'm just going to do one small one for the other pumpkin as well, and using the same technique. This is just a little piece of floral wire. The floral wire and jute are all from the Dollar Tree. The tissue, the pipe cleaners, the leaves, everything so far, except for the white and beige paints that I used to make the chalk paint in the video in the beginning, are the only things that I had bought at different places. I bought at Walmart because it's cheaper to buy paint at Walmart anyway. Okay, and now I'm going to repeat the process for the next tendril, and I'm going to add it to the long stem pumpkin again. Tomorrow we're going to paint a black and white buffalo check on one of these pumpkins, and then the next day we're going to put the three of them together in a special type of two-sided topiary for your porch, using a mystery Dollar Tree item. It's not really a mystery. You'll stay tuned and I'll show you. So I've got three, this one and two more DIYs coming back to back of the same project. Okay. All right. And then we're going to glue this tendrils there, and then we'll repeat the process for the next little tendril for the pumpkin. And this one actually is just a tiny bit different. You can't really see. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. There you go. Well, with this one, I've sort of gone and just basically wrapped the wire around, the jute around the wire. Didn't quite make it as covered as the other one, but you could still see that it looks good. It looks, actually a little bit of that green doesn't really take away from the tendril. It actually gives a little bit of dimension as far as I'm concerned. So you can kind of see it very twisty here. And now we're going to wrap this one around the pencil, and that's what we're going to do to create its sort of twisty tendril. All right. And then this one we're going to add to the pumpkin with the burlap stem. And that's it. I hope you really enjoyed this tutorial. Again, stay tuned for parts 2 and 3 of this project. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments down below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, share with friends and family. Anybody you know might be interested in making some farmhouse pumpkins with different types of stems. And if you haven't yet, click subscribe, and when you do, a little bell will pop up. When you ring that bell, YouTube will let you know whenever I upload a new video. And as always, take care, God bless, see you next time. Bye!